What do they learn to do? Basic Windows functions, browsing, painting, chatting and email, games and educational material, music downloads, and playing video. So basically what all of us do. So they learn each one of those things, and increasingly now they are onto the social networking sites, Facebook, MySpace, that kind of thing.
Did anyone hack it?
What?
Did anyone hack it?
Frequently. Frequently.
Did they do anything that you would consider
Well,
programming or technical?
Well, let me give you an example. Remember, my age group is 6 to 13 years. In a village, in one of the villages, do I have her here? No, I don't. In one of the villages, there's this very cute looking little girl. She must have been 8 or something like that. And the boys told me when I went to the village, the boys said, she is very wicked. So I said, why is she very wicked? Because she spoils everything. So I decided that I must investigate. So I stayed there for a couple of days to watch. What she would do is, she had a game which was her favorite game, and the boys wouldn't let her play it for more than a few minutes because they would all come and check her out. So what she would do is that she would go into the Windows systems directory and rename the DLL which runs that game. Okay? So now the game doesn't work anymore. So then she tells the boys, well, it's too bad. So the boys get bored and they all go off to play. So she renames it back and then they start playing it. So I don't know if you want to call that technical, but I mean, she had figured it is, isn't it? Another example, even weirder. In a village, there was a virus infection. So I said to the children, remember, I have to be non-invasive. So I said to the children, I don't know, there's something wrong. So the children said, call Lali. So I said, who's Lali? So they started yelling, Lali, and so Lali came along. Lali was about that high. So Lali came along, and he went straight into one of the free antivirus sites, McAfee or whatever it is, cleaned the whole thing. And I got talking to Lali. I said, what did you do? Can you explain to me what you do? So he looked at me in a very puzzled way and said, but how can I? So I said, why not? So he said, believe this or not, I can't read. Okay? So I said, can you paint pictures on the computer? Sure. His accessories, paint, and he starts painting. So in the evening, I jumbled the menu. Okay, I put everything in wrong places. And I called him the next day again, and I said, now can you figure out what's where? So he says, oh, you spoiled everything. So it peers at the screen, and he says, over there. And he goes and opens Paint. So I said, what does it say there? And he again grins, but I can't read. So I don't know what that says about literacy. He's reading English like pictograms, isn't it? And then I thought to myself, why am I so surprised? I had in the days of my youth, I'd once gone to Japan and walked into a ladies' loo because there were two identical doors. One had squiggle number 1 and one had squiggle number 2. So I just pushed one of them in. I must say the Japanese women were very nice. You know, they said, I walked in and I said, and they stood there and they bowed like this. So I felt even worse. Anyway, but after that I jolly well memorized those 2 pictograms. I still don't know what they mean, but I can tell which is the gents and which is the ladies. So I suppose when faced with a foreign language, Lali treated it that way, but he was an illiterate.
Did you get any sense of how he discovered that virus site wasn't
You know, it's somewhere there in the logs, but there is, 40 gigabytes of logs. So I don't know. I feel very bad about that there's such terrific stories sitting in those logs of how they actually did it. And it could be something very simple. It's not genius or anything like that. It could be that a college student was passing by and said, oh, this is why, this is called an antivirus. This is how you go. You just have to give them a little hint, and then they pick it up from that point onwards. So that was my second one, which is where good schools can't exist, we need an alternative to schooling. So remember, places where good teachers won't go, you need alternatives. Maybe this is one way of doing it. Third sentence, can the internet bring teachers to where they don't want to go or they cannot go? So I am working on that right now at Newcastle. There's a subject which I think is getting ready to be made. It should be called instructional robotics. Instructional robotics, the word exists already, but it is usually for described as robots with which you can teach yourself how robots work. But here what I'm talking about, robots that can teach, not autonomously, but in a different way. Well, firstly, a little bit about presence. Now, this is the Platonic system. It's been there for 2,500 years, the teacher and the students. Now, this teacher doesn't want to stay in that school. That was our basic problem. She wants to go somewhere else. Could I replace her with a three-dimensional holographic image, which is indistinguishable from real life? Except, I mean, if you came and poked her, then your hand would go through. But other than that, you can't make out that she's not there. How long will it take to build that? I don't think we have the technology to build it right now, but maybe by 2030 we'll be able to do it. But then should we wait until 2030? We could do something else. We can replace her with a two-dimensional projection. It's expensive if you want to do it with video conferencing, but it's not expensive if you use peer-to-peer networking technology. So then I have some specs of what we need to do there, what kind of bandwidth and so on. But I'll show you I'll show you a little bit of an example in a moment. Other than this, there's one other idea which maybe might make sense for an organization like yours to play around with. Remotely operated vehicles. Now, they already exist. This one, I don't know what it does.
This disables bombs.
Bombs, right? This one, of course, we know is up there on Mars. This one is underwater. This one's used for war. They're all remotely operated by people somewhere else. So my question is, why not for education? So imagine a situation where you have a vehicle over here. There's a screen. You have the teacher's face on it. You have the teacher's voice. You have a microphone. It can move. And I guide it remotely. So now you as a teacher can't tell me I don't want to go there, because I say you don't have to go there. You can sit here in Newcastle and do it. So I have a design for that as well. And some beginnings of it already exist. If you've seen this one, it's a vacuum cleaner which sort of wakes up and does vacuuming of the house on preset days of the week. Very handy little thing. So I've been in touch with that company to say, can we put a web camera into that kind of a device, and could I operate it at a distance? They may come up with something. So yes, we can possibly bring teachers to where they don't want to go. And last sentence, which is the more controversial one right now. Can the internet replace teachers in schools? I think it's time to take that question head on. You know, it's supposed to be a bit of a, nasty thing to say and all of that. But remember, I often get blamed for teacher bashing, but that's not what I'm doing. Remember, I'm only saying if there are places where teachers won't go, then why can I not say this, or at least test it?